Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. What if the only thing standing between you and being the best in the world at what you do is the way you think about yourself? See, you don't have to be born talented, rich, or lucky. You just have to be willing to learn, willing to grow, and willing to pay the price that greatness demands, because greatness doesn't come from comfort. It comes from commitment. So today, I'm going to give you 10 rules to be the best at anything, not just good, not just average, but the best. Let me tell you something powerful. The greatest limitation a person will ever face is not outside of them. It's what they believe about themselves. Belief is the soil from which every dream grows. If your belief is small, your results will always be small. You cannot perform beyond what you think is possible for you. You cannot live like a champion if deep inside you still see yourself as unworthy. Every great achievement, every transformation, every extraordinary life began with one simple truth. Someone somewhere chose to believe before they became. When you look at people who rise to greatness, they didn't start there. They started where you are, uncertain, afraid, and surrounded by doubt. But what separates the best from the rest is not the absence of fear, it's the presence of faith. They believed in their vision even when the world laughed at them. They believed in their worth even when no one else could see it. That's the secret. Belief gives birth to behavior, and behavior builds destiny. What you believe, you begin to act on. What you act on, you begin to manifest. So the question isn't, can I be the best? The real question is, can I believe I can be the best? Every single person who has achieved greatness faced a season where it looked impossible. But belief isn't based on sight, it's based on vision. When you start believing, your actions begin to shift. You start showing up differently. You walk differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself like the person you're becoming, not the person you used to be. You start planting seeds of greatness in every area of your life, and those seeds grow because your belief waters them daily. The most dangerous thing in the world is a person who truly believes in their purpose, because once belief sets in, doubt loses its power. Let me give you a truth that will change your life. The world doesn't respond to wishers. It responds to believers. Most people wish for better, but wishing doesn't create results. Believing does. Wishing looks at circumstances. Believing creates them. When you believe something so deeply, your mind begins to search for evidence to prove it true. Your subconscious starts working for you instead of against you. Suddenly, you begin to attract opportunities, people, and situations that align with your belief. It's not magic. It's mindset. The belief is the blueprint and your actions are the construction. If you build according to that design, success becomes inevitable. Now, let me give you the real hook. You've already proven that belief works. Think about it. Every failure you've experienced started with a belief that it wouldn't work out. Every moment you backed down, every time you said, I can't, you were practicing belief, but in the wrong direction. You believed in your limitations more than your potential. You believed in your fears more than your faith. What if, starting today, you flip that? What if you believed so deeply in your purpose that failure wasn't even part of your vocabulary? What if you walked into every room like you belonged there, not because of arrogance, but because of divine assignment? Here's the truth. When you start believing, your energy shifts. People can feel belief. You can't fake it. It radiates through your tone, your posture, your focus. It makes others lean in when you speak. It commands attention. Not because you're loud, but because you're certain. And certainty is magnetic. The best don't have all the answers. They have all the confidence. They move with conviction even when the path isn't clear, because they understand that belief turns obstacles into opportunities and pressure into performance. So if you want to be the best at anything, start by mastering belief. You have to believe you deserve it before you'll ever do what it takes to achieve it. You can't lead people if you don't believe in your leadership. You can't sell your idea if you don't believe in your value. You can't inspire others if you don't believe in your own message. Every great dream lives or dies on the battlefield of belief. Let me challenge you right now. Stop rehearsing your weaknesses and start reinforcing your strengths. Stop talking about what's missing and start focusing on what's possible. Don't let the opinions of small thinkers shrink the size of your belief. When people doubt you, let that be confirmation that you're dreaming big enough. The same people who mock you today will quote you tomorrow if you keep believing long enough. You don't need anyone's permission to rise. You don't need everyone to understand you. All you need is one powerful, unwavering decision to believe in yourself even when it hurts, even when it's lonely, even when it seems like nothing's happening. Because belief is the seed that grows in the dark before it blooms in the light. So here's the hook. While others are waiting for signs, you be the sign. While they're looking for evidence, you become the evidence. When they say it's impossible, you smile and say, watch me. That's belief in action. That's the mindset of the best. You don't become the best and then start believing. You believe first, and that belief builds you into the best. So believe before you become, because once you truly believe, becoming is no longer a question. It's a process already in motion. Let me tell you the truth most people don't want to hear. Motivation is not enough. Motivation feels good, but it fades fast. You can be motivated today and miserable tomorrow. You can wake up inspired at 6 a.m. and be defeated by 10 a.m. because motivation depends on emotion and emotion changes like the weather. But discipline is different. Discipline is the backbone of success, the invisible power that turns dreams into reality. You can't depend on how you feel. You must depend on what you've decided. Motivation starts the engine, but discipline drives the car all the way to the destination. See, people who rely on motivation quit when it's inconvenient. They start strong and stop early, but disciplined people, they show up whether they feel like it or not. They do what's necessary, not what's easy. They don't wait for the perfect mood, the perfect timing, or the perfect opportunity. They move with consistency because they know consistency beats intensity every single time. Discipline is not about doing something once with energy. It's about doing it 1,000 times with excellence. Here's the hook. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't filled with motivation. It's filled with discipline. You can talk about success all you want, post quotes, write goals, visualize the dream, but until you discipline yourself to act daily, you'll never see it. Dreams die in the hands of the undisciplined. The ones who win are the ones who have trained their minds to show up when their emotions tell them not to, because emotions scream later, but discipline whispers now. The most powerful people on earth aren't the ones with talent. They're the ones with habits. Talent can open a door, but discipline keeps it open. You can have all the potential in the world, but if you can't master your habits, your potential becomes wasted energy. Discipline teaches you to do what's right even when nobody is watching, to stay focused when distractions are shouting your name, and to push when comfort tries to hold you still. The best don't rely on inspiration. They rely on intention. Every action is purposeful, every moment accounted for. Think about this. How many times have you told yourself, I'll start tomorrow? How many times have you waited for that perfect moment to begin? That's motivation talking, and motivation always negotiates. It tells you you've worked hard enough when you haven't. It tells you you deserve a break before you've earned it. But discipline has no negotiation. It has no excuses. It doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about your future. The people who become the best don't let their emotions make decisions. They let their commitments lead the way. Discipline doesn't mean you never feel tired, lazy, or afraid. It means you do it anyway. You act in spite of your emotions, not because of them. You wake up earlier, train harder, study longer, speak with courage, and give your best even when no one applauds. Because you understand something deep. Temporary discomfort creates permanent power. Every time you push past what's comfortable, you build a new layer of strength. Every time you follow through, you prove to yourself that you're becoming who you said you would be. That's how confidence is built, not through speeches, but through self-discipline. Here's the secret. Discipline creates freedom. It's not a prison. It's the path out of it. When you discipline your habits, you free your mind. You free your time. You free your potential. People think freedom means doing whatever you want. No, real freedom means doing what must be done without being controlled by excuses or laziness. Discipline is self-respect in action. It's saying, I value my future too much to keep betraying it with my comfort. The world doesn't reward the person who works once. It rewards the person who works always. Discipline is repetition with purpose. You don't see results the first day or even the first month, but disciplined people don't quit because of delay. They understand that growth is invisible before it's undeniable. You water the seed long before you see the sprout. That's what separates dreamers from doers. Dreamers wait for results to feel motivated. Doers keep going because they know the result is inevitable. Let me give you a hook that should hit your spirit. The life you want is hiding behind the discipline you avoid. You say you want success, but are you willing to sacrifice the comfort that's keeping you ordinary? The truth is, everybody wants to be great until it's time to do what greatness requires. The best are not more gifted. They're just more committed. They've learned to control themselves when others can't. They've learned to persist when others pause. They've learned that excellence isn't built in moments of excitement, but in hours of routine. You'll never become the best by doing what's convenient. You'll only rise by doing what's consistent. Discipline is the muscle that separates amateurs from masters. Every no you say to distraction is all yes to destiny. Every day you choose discipline, you cast a vote for the person you're becoming. So stop waiting to feel ready. Start acting ready. Because motivation may start the fire, but only discipline will keep it burning when the wind of life starts to blow. And here's the final hook. Discipline isn't punishment, it's proof. Proof that you want the dream badly enough to fight for it. Proof that you value the vision more than the excuse. Proof that you're becoming the kind of person success can trust. Motivation might excite you, but discipline will elevate you. And if you stay disciplined long enough, you won't just reach your goals, you'll redefine what's possible. Pain, the word everyone runs from, but the truth is, pain is not your enemy. Pain is your instructor, your mentor, your uninvited but necessary teacher. Every person who's ever achieved greatness has walked through pain. You can't reach the top without first walking through the valley. People want success without sacrifice, progress without pressure, growth without grind, but that's not how life works. Pain is the price of purpose. It doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to develop you. The people who become the best at anything are not the ones who avoid pain. They're the ones who transform it into power. Let me tell you this, pain reveals who you really are. When everything's easy, everyone looks strong. But when the storm hits, when the pressure mounts, when the nights get long and the rewards seem far away, that's when character is forged. Pain will strip away your excuses and expose your true strength. It will demand a decision. Will you let it break you, or will you use it to build you? The truth is, every time you endure, every time you keep showing up through the hurt, you're teaching your soul resilience. You're saying, I refuse to let what hurt me define me. Pain becomes the forge where your purpose is refined. Here's the hook. Your pain is not random, it's preparation. Every struggle you're going through is equipping you with the strength and perspective you'll need for your next level. The pain you're feeling now is shaping the power you'll stand in later. The lessons you learn in loss will one day become the wisdom that sustains your success. You can't pray for elevation and then reject the process that prepares you for it. Pain builds the endurance that prosperity requires. Every tear, every heartbreak, every disappointment, it's all training for your transformation. See, most people quit when it hurts, not realizing that's the exact moment growth begins. When you lift weights, the muscle doesn't grow when it's resting. It grows when it's tearing. That tearing is pain, and that pain is progress in disguise. The same applies to your spirit. Every challenge that stretches you, every betrayal that cuts you, every failure that shakes you, those are the moments building your inner muscle. The pain you survive becomes the strength you stand on. You can't become unshakable without first being shaken. The ones who rise the highest have learned how to reframe their pain. They don't ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, what is this trying to teach me? Because the moment you change your question, you change your outcome. Pain is only permanent if you give it the wrong meaning. The people who grow take that same pain and assign it purpose. They turn their wounds into wisdom. They transform their setbacks into setups. That's how you take control, by deciding pain will not end your story, it will evolve it. Let me hit you with a truth that'll stick. Comfort will never teach you what pain can. Comfort keeps you the same. Pain stretches you into something greater. You learn who you are when you have nothing left but faith. You discover your power when there's no one left to call. You find your purpose when life knocks you to your knees, and you realize you still have the strength to stand. That's when you stop fearing pain and start respecting it, because pain only hurts for a season, but the strength that gives you lasts a lifetime. Here's the hook. The same fire that melts wax hardens clay. The same challenge that breaks one person builds another. What makes the difference? It's not the pain, it's the perspective. If you decide to see pain as proof that something powerful is being formed inside you, then you'll endure with purpose. You'll stop running from it and start growing through it. Pain will stop being a punishment and start being your promotion. Most people think success is about winning, but true success is about surviving long enough to win. Everyone faces pain, but only the disciplined, only the focused, only the faith-filled turn pain into power. When life cuts you, you have two choices: bleed bitterness or bleed brilliance. You can let pain poison you, or you can let it polish you. The choice determines your destiny. The truth is, you can't truly appreciate light until you've walked through darkness. You can't understand joy unless you've experienced sorrow. You can't respect strength until you've felt weak. Pain gives meaning to your progress. Without the struggle, success would feel empty. It's the fight that gives the victory flavor, the climb that makes the view worth it. Every scar you carry is not a mark of shame. It's a medal of survival. It says, I've been tested and I'm still here. So when pain shows up, don't curse it. Don't ask for it to end too quickly. Instead, learn from it. Lean into it. Let it do its work in you. Because once you've learned how to transform pain into purpose, no challenge can stop you again. The pain you conquer becomes the platform you stand on to inspire others. Your story of survival becomes someone else's manual for victory. And that's the hook. Your greatest power will often be born from your greatest pain. The best don't avoid pain. They master it. They understand that the same fire that once burned them can later fuel them. Pain is not punishment. It's proof that you're being stretched into someone stronger. So when the pain comes, don't ask, why me? Instead, say, try me. Because once you've learned to turn pain into power, you become unstoppable. If you want to be the best at anything, you have to become a student of the game before you can ever hope to master it. You cannot dominate what you do not understand. Knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is transformation. Every champion, every innovator, every leader began by studying the craft so deeply that it became a part of who they were. The best don't stumble into mastery. They study it, dissect it, and then redefine it. Average people stop learning once they're good enough, but extraordinary people keep learning until there's no one left to learn from. And even then, they keep growing. Here's the hook. You cannot lead in a field you haven't first learned. The moment you think you know it all, you stop becoming better. And when you stop becoming better, someone else, hungrier and more teachable, will take your place. The best in the world never let pride get in the way of progress. They understand that being a lifelong learner is not weakness, it's their greatest strength. Because the more you study, the more you discover how much there is left to master. Most people want success without study. They want greatness without growth. They want to win the game without understanding the rules. But mastery requires obsession, not casual interest, but relentless curiosity. When you study the game, you start to see patterns others miss. You begin to understand timing, strategy, and positioning. You learn when to move fast and when to be still. You learn what to avoid and what to repeat. And once you understand the game on that level, you stop reacting to life. You start anticipating it. That's what separates the elite from the average, the ability to see 3 steps ahead because you've studied the board long enough to know how the pieces move. Let me give you a truth. Study is not just reading, it's observing. It's paying attention to how excellence operates. When you watch someone great, don't just admire their results, study their routines, their thought processes, their preparation. Every professional was once an amateur who decided to study harder than others played. Every expert was once a beginner who refused to stop learning. The ones who rise to the top aren't lucky, they're learners. Here's another hook. Knowledge gives you confidence, but mastery gives you power. When you know your craft so deeply that it becomes instinct, you no longer need to prove yourself. Your results will speak for you. When you study something until it becomes second nature, you move from imitation to innovation. You stop copying others and start creating your own lane. You no longer compete. You redefine the competition. You can't skip the study phase. Too many people want to be seen before they're ready. They want the spotlight before they've earned the substance. But the spotlight will always expose what study could have strengthened. When you study, you prepare yourself to handle the pressure that comes with progress. The best invest years in learning before they ever step on the stage. They practice privately so they can perform publicly. They fail, they analyze, they adjust. That's the process of mastery, repetition with reflection. Here's the part most people miss. Studying the game isn't about perfection, it's about understanding. You can't control every variable, but you can control how much you know. You can control how deeply you prepare. You can control how intentionally you apply what you've learned. The best don't just work hard, they work wise. They use knowledge as leverage, turning information into innovation. The more they study, the more efficient their execution becomes. That's how they win, not by luck, but by learning. When you study long enough, something amazing happens. Your confidence becomes unshakable. You stop second guessing yourself because you've done the work. You've earned your authority through preparation. People can sense it. They can feel it in your presence, your precision, your posture. You become the person others look to for answers because your expertise speaks louder than your words. And that's the power of study. It builds credibility from the inside out. Here's the hook. Your dedication to learning determines your elevation in life. The more value you acquire, the more valuable you become. You don't need to chase opportunities. When you've developed mastery, opportunities chase you. The world always makes room for those who understand their craft better than anyone else. But the key is humility, staying teachable even after you've achieved success. Because the moment you stop learning, you start declining. The best keep evolving. They study new strategies, new technologies, new mindsets. They don't cling to old methods. They adapt and grow. The same curiosity that made them successful keeps them sharp. They understand that mastery is not a moment. It's a mindset. It's a lifelong commitment to never stop improving. Every challenge becomes a new chapter in their education. Every mistake becomes a new lesson. Every success becomes proof that study pays off. When you study the game long enough, you eventually outgrow it. You stop playing by the rules and start rewriting them. That's what innovation is. The courage to redefine what excellence looks like. The people who make history are not just the ones who mastered the game, but the ones who created a new one. And that's the ultimate reward of study, the ability to move from learning the system to becoming the system. So here's the final hook. Stop trying to be seen, start trying to understand. Because the one who studies silently today will lead loudly tomorrow. The one who takes time to learn deeply will earn the kind of respect that shortcuts can never buy. If you want to be the best, don't chase fame, chase mastery. Because once you truly study the game, you won't just play it better, you'll change it forever. When life gets hard, when the pressure rises and the road gets long, the thing that keeps you moving isn't talent or luck, it's your why. Your why is your foundation, your fuel, your fire. It's the reason you wake up early when others are still sleeping. It's the reason you keep going when everything inside of you says quit. Without a strong why, you will always find an excuse. But with a powerful why, you'll always find a way. That's the difference between the ones who start and the ones who finish. One is driven by emotion, the other by purpose. Here's the hook. If your why isn't strong enough, your pain will talk you out of your promise. Because life will test you. There will be days when the dream feels far away, when your effort seems invisible, when everything you built feels like it's falling apart. In those moments, your why becomes your anchor. It reminds you why you started in the first place. It pulls you through when motivation disappears. It's the internal voice that whispers, keep going, this is bigger than you. People often fail not because they lack ability, but because they forget their reason. They lose sight of what they're fighting for. They get distracted by the noise, the opinions, the delays. But the best, the truly great, they stay connected to their purpose. They revisit their why every single day. They visualize it, they feel it, they live it. Because when you know why you're doing something, no obstacle can make you stop. Pain becomes part of the process. Rejection becomes redirection. Failure becomes feedback. Everything starts to make sense when you're anchored in purpose. Let me tell you this. Your why must be personal. It can't be something shallow like money, fame, or validation. Those things fade fast. When challenges come, those motives crumble. Your why has to come from deep within you, something that means more than comfort. Maybe it's your family, your legacy, your calling, or the version of yourself you're becoming. Whatever it is, it has to matter enough to make quitting impossible. Because when your why is powerful, it will silence every excuse your mind tries to make. Here's another hook. Your why gives pain permission to make sense. When you understand your purpose, even the worst days become training grounds for your destiny. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this building in me? Because your why turns confusion into clarity. It turns struggle into structure. It gives meaning to moments that used to feel meaningless. Without it, every challenge feels like punishment. With it, every challenge feels like preparation. The best people in any field know the secret. Emotion fades, but vision sustains. When you live by emotion, you'll start and stop based on how you feel. But when you live by vision, you move with consistency. Even when feelings fight against you, your why becomes the blueprint for your discipline. It keeps you steady when storms hit. It reminds you that temporary pain can't stop permanent purpose. That's how leaders are made, by staying faithful to their why when it would be easier to walk away. Think about it. Every champion you admire had a moment when giving up would have made sense. The only reason they didn't quit is because their why was louder than their weakness. They weren't superhuman. They were simply anchored. They knew their mission mattered more than their mood. And that's the mindset of the best. They don't let emotion dictate execution. They let purpose drive performance. When your why becomes non-negotiable, your success becomes inevitable. Let me drop this hook right here. You can't fake passion. You can fake effort for a day, a week, maybe a month, but you can't fake it forever. The truth will always reveal itself when the pressure comes. Your why will either sustain you or expose you. That's why you must define it clearly. Write it down. Speak it out. Let it become your standard. When your why becomes clear, your how becomes easy. You stop chasing motivation and start chasing mastery. You stop looking for shortcuts and start building systems. You stop being interested and start being invested. A strong why changes the way you see obstacles. What once looked like a wall becomes a step. What once felt like resistance becomes a reason to grow stronger. You no longer run from challenges because you know they're shaping you for the very thing you're called to do. That's the hidden power of having a why. It transforms every hardship into a reminder that you're on assignment. You're not just working, you're building something that matters. You're not just surviving, you're fulfilling something divine. When you forget your why, everything feels heavy. But when you remember it, everything becomes lighter, not because it's easier, but because it's worth it. Your why gives weight to your work. It turns ordinary actions into extraordinary progress. It reminds you that what you're doing has purpose, even if nobody else sees it yet. The best in the world don't get stronger because life gets easier. They get stronger because their why keeps them moving when it's hardest to keep going. Here's the final hook. Success without purpose is still failure. You can have money, fame, recognition, but if you lose your why, you'll feel empty. Purpose is the only thing that turns success into significance. It's the force that gives your wins meaning and your losses perspective. So protect your why, guard it, feed it. Let it grow with you. Because once your why becomes unshakable, there's nothing in the world that can stop you. You'll stop chasing approval and start chasing destiny. You'll stop needing motivation because you'll have something stronger, a mission. And that mission, that burning why inside you will make you unstoppable. So here's the truth. Being the best isn't about talent, luck, or opportunity. It's about choice. You can choose to complain or you can choose to commit. You can choose comfort or you can choose calling. Every great name in history was just an ordinary person who decided to do the work others wouldn't. You don't have to wait for permission to be great. You just have to make a decision. So go out there, apply these 10 rules and don't aim to fit in, aim to stand out.